Welcome, basically everybody to the how to use ChatGPT, GPT-4 large language models. My name is Mustafa. I'm with Royal Cyber. Today we will be covering large language models. We will be also covering how to use, Open AI. We will be covering LangChain and also vector databases. And then at the end, Sarmad will be doing a live workshop. So you will, create a whole ChatGPT sort of an, uh, and code yourself. So just something about us, Royal Cyber. So Royal Cyber is basically based out of Naperville. We have been in business for about 15 plus years. We are about 1,500 plus employees worldwide. We are an ISO 9001 certified company. We have been awarded Chicago's Best and Brightest for the past a couple of years. We are also, business partners with Snowflake's, uh, Databricks. So we do a lot of work in that also. So I think before I start with the LLMs and ChatGPT and others thing, I just wanted like a high level setup that. What is your, you know, uh, the experience with large language models like ChatGPT, Hugging Face, and others, Coheres? And also, have you used a vector uh, database before? Yes or no? And then also, what comes to your mind when you think about the future possibilities of using ChatGPT and large language models? So if anybody wants to share any feedback, I mean, like, what is your, experience with large language models? Have you used it before in your kind of applications now? Okay. Are you guys familiar with vector databases, like which is a new thing which is being used by in ChatGPT and large language models? Okay, I can see a few people and few people not. Okay. So I think we will be going through that. And then anybody have any use cases which they are looking to solve using ChatGPT or, any large language models which you want to share with everybody? Okay, but I think later on when we start. Okay, so um, just for like, those people who are not familiar with LLMs, large language models are voracious readers. So what they do is that they read, basically, like everything from code, books, Wikipedia. So they are voracious readers. Okay. So, and what they do is that they try to build a statistical understanding of language, okay, structure. So if somebody would like to solve this puzzle. In your cap, okay, so in your cap, anybody else? In your cat, on your CAD or in your cap, right? So I think that's what they do. I mean, like, what they do is that they try to figure out what will be the next word, right? Based on, right? So if you see the definition of large language model, I mean, this is what it is. But if I just like, get the main gist of it, it basically learned from a large corpus of human written text, predict what words are most likely to come next, giving a particular context. So I mean, that's what I mean, like, she was trying to figure out the next word, and which is determined by the preceding words in the text, and selects the most likely word to generate as the next word in the sequence. Okay, so that's the high level meaning of LLMs. So what are some of the shortcomings of LLMs? Does anybody know anything like, the shortcomings which large language models do not do? So even with all its all the knowledge it has. Like Socrates said, you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you ask a large language model who won FIFA World Cup 2022, it will not know, because large language models like ChatGPT has been trained till 2021 September, right? So anything beyond that, it won't know. So it won't respond you back. And also it, basically, hallucinates. So all the responses which are coming back from ChatGPT, they are not all the right. So if you go back to the history a little bit, so ChatGPT 3.0 came out, then 3.5, now 4.0 is there. Then Lambda came out from Google, then Llama came out from Meta, right? And then there are a lot of other ones also, like there is Cohere has its own. So there are a lot of large language models, I mean, like, which are currently available. I just wanted to share you this, that it took Netflix uh, uh, 10 years to reach 100 million users. It took ChatGPT just 1 month to reach that same amount of users. So, I mean, in this course, I mean, like, we will be focusing more on, OpenAI. So, and so OpenAI has a lot of models like GPT-3. They have Ada, Gamma, Cray, Drevo. They have multimedia models. I mean, we will be mainly focusing on the GPT 3.5. Okay. So how does the pricing works? I mean, just so that everybody is on the same page. So the pricing in ChatGPT is like, based on 1,000 tokens. So 1,000 token is about 750 words. The number of words on this slide is about 30. So I have used about 30, tokens. Okay, and the GPT 3.5 turbo charges about 0.002 per 1,000 tokens. Okay, so if you, how many people have read the book War and Peace? Okay, so the War and Peace book has about 587,000 words in it. So if you want GPT to process it, it will cost about $1.56. Daily generated information in the Google is about 328 million terabytes. So if you ask ChatGPT to process that, it will cost you this much. And I don't know how to read this. That's a lot. Yeah, a lot. Okay. So now everybody knows about ChatGPT. I mean, we use that, right, for content, for emails and other things. But what are some of the key business requirement to use ChatGPT in, enterprises? So some of the key requirements are, the first is, I want to use my own data warehouse, data, right? I want to, like ChatGPT is just trained till 21 September. So I want, like, insight from my fresh data. I want it like data from yesterday or from, today, right? And the third is, I want to use semantic search, right? I can just, type, okay, tell me all the, what are my company 401k policies are. Okay, so I can, like, type semantic search, and I mean, that should work. Okay. And the fourth thing, which is number one thing, which everybody wants, is data privacy. So I don't want my data to be shared with anybody else. So I think that is a number one thing. So these are the four things which all company wants to do with large language models. So if I have this data, I have three options. Either the first option is that I can, create my own large language models. Okay, if I want to do that, that is very hard. That is costly. I need uh, data scientists who have deep learning knowledge, and it is a lot of money. And I think that the cost of NVIDIA chips is very high, right? So that is one of the option, but that is a very high option. And another option is that there are a lot of open source models available. There are a lot of large language model of open source model available. I can use one of those, but to train that and to train all those models, I mean, that will require a lot of work also. So that is not also a very financially feasible option. The third option is the open AI or like ChatGPT, which is already available. And I just showed you how much it cost, right? So if you are using any of those, then so in this workshop, I mean, which we will be doing, we will be showing how to use the open AI service, which is currently available, because that is something which you can do it fast. Okay. So now, if you are creating, let's say that your company wants to create a large language model, you know, application, something like ChatGPT. Okay, so how do you start? Okay, so there is a framework available called LangChain. It is a free. It is an basically open source framework, which is called LangChain. It is available, and almost you can say that luncheon, I mean, like, came out about last year. And if you go to GitHub, there are about 50,000 people have, fork it. So it's very famous, very popular. Google, Microsoft, Oracle, everybody is building applications on a LangChain. Okay, so what is LangChain? So LangChain, makes it, enables easy development of application powered by large language models. Okay. These are some of the components within LangChain, and I will be going through this. So you have so you have a good, basically understanding what is a LangChain is, because once Sarmad will do the workshop, you will then see all these, puzzles going together. Okay. So what is LangChain? Okay, so if you see, you are already familiar with ChatGPT. How does ChatGPT works? You send a prompt to the AI model, and the AI model responds to you, and you get a response, back, right? Now, let's say that we take a scenario, and a scenario that you have a French, class. Now, the French class, whenever they are using ChatGPT, when they want to translate anything from French to any other language, or okay, they will say, I mean, everybody will say translate to French, this word, this word, this word. Why everybody has to, type all of this every single time, right? So you will create an application just like ChatGPT, and you will have a base prompt, which is translate to French, and then you will supply a user input to that, and that prompt will be sent to the large language model, and then you will get a response back. This process of combining the base prompt with a user input, that is called prompt template. Okay. So, okay. Now, after you have a prompt template, if you want to change, translate it from French to, let's say, German, right? So you just have to change the prompt template, base template, translate to German, and then your response will be like completely, different. Or you can, change it to translate to, Arabic, right? So, and then uh, LangChain has another thing, which is models. If you are not uh, comfortable, or you are not happy with the responses of OpenAI, or the price is very high, you can easily go to the model piece of LangChain, and you can swap the OpenAI with Cohere, or I mean any other models. So I mean, there are a lot of models available. With the LangChain framework, you can easily swap it. So we talked about prompt template. We talked about the user, input, which goes to the prompt template. And then we talk about how do you specify the model which you want to use. Once you have this whole flow, then you send it to the LLM. Now, this process of combining this flow, that is a concept in LangChain which is called chain. So if you want, and so there are many different kinds of chains available. So if you want to, talk to um, the large language model, so you use a chain which is called, basically, LLM chain. If you want to do some sort of a math problem, so you use a chain which is called LLM math chain. So these are all available out of the box from the framework. Anybody has any questions so far? Yeah. You can do it both ways, because I think this is just a framework. Either you can, basically host the framework on-prem, or you can host it in either, AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud. Yeah. So the model is so I mentioned that, right, that if you go back, you have choices, right? So you can use any of these models, OpenAI, Cohere. I mean, there are so many models available. So if you, OpenAI, you do, you you don't have the code of it, right? Because Microsoft Azure manages it. But if you go to huggingface.com, you can find hundreds of LLM models which code is available. So if your company wants to manage its own, then then you can replace the OpenAI with your model out here. But LangChain is just a framework, right, to make this, ChatGPT sort of an application for you. You're welcome. So, like I said, yeah, please. Yes. Yeah. So I think once Sarmad will show you, so he will, basically connect to OpenAI, right? So you will have to get an API key from them. So once you, basically add that key in your code, then you can make the connection out there. I mean, he will show it to you. Yeah. Okay. So like I said that, in the framework, Langchain framework, you have a lot of chains available like math chain, LLM chain. A lot of data is in the company's data warehouses, right? So you want, and so if I type a question that show me all the sales happened last month. So you will use a chain which is called LLM SQL chain. So it will go to your SQL Server, Oracle, whatever, database you have, it will get the data for you. So see, this is the beauty of this LangChain. If you don't have LangChain, then how will you transform the semantic search, these questions to back to your get the data, and then call the model and then get the response back. So LangChain basically makes it very simple for you. Yeah. So and then I think if you need to retrieve answers, just like we are doing in ChatGPT, so there is a chain available for that also, which is called Retrieval QA chain. Okay. So now, if I go back to my French class again, and I have another scenario for them, that search entire book. So one way of doing that is that they can copy the whole book, which is available out here with them. they can, enter it in the ChatGPT, and then they can ask the question which they want from that book. What will happen if I do that? So if you try to copy the whole book in the ChatGPT and then ask the question in that book, what will happen? You will get a message like this, that this is too long to process. So as you know that ChatGPT, there is a limit to the amount of message you can send, right? So it is about 4,000 token limit in GPT 3.5. In 4.0 is it that is higher, but there is always a limit, right? And that limit is based on the prompt and the response. So why we are getting that message? Because our prompt and our response was more than 4K. Yeah. Yes. So it charges for like both. Yeah. Yeah. Prompt and response. Okay. Good question. So now, the way we will now, so now our goal is that I need to upload all of these books in ChatGPT sort of an application, and so that I can ask questions, right, in that book. So the way we will do that is something called vector database. So what we will do, we will, take all of this PDF files. There is a module available within LangChain, which is called document loader. So we will load all of the document in the document loader. Once we will have the document loaded, then we will use something called text splitters to like split the documents in, small chunks. Once we do that, then we will use an, embedding model, and there are a lot of models available, and we will convert the words to basically arrays, numbers. And then once you convert it to numbers, then you save it in the vector DB. So this is how the whole process looks like. So you take the document, split it, convert it into, basically embedding models, and then store it in the vector DB.
So the models, do they have context?
Yes,
So
yes.
you can say, this book is French book, so you would use. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think what we are doing is right now is that we are taking the book, which is about 50 pages, and then we are storing it in a vector DB. And I will tell you why. I mean, it will be coming soon. So now how vector database stores this, right? So if you look under the vector database, now it has all of these numbers which it read from those PDF files, right? And it uses a formula which is called similar meaning or like closer proximity. So all the words which has similar meaning, it will create a graph. And I mean, all the similar words will be saved, close to one another. So now if I ask the question, let's say now I want to ask a question, what were the different characters in the book, right? So the vector database, what it will do, uh, it will find the closer proximity. So it will basically, the way it works is that it will, take the question, it will convert it to, numbers again, and then it will look up in the vector DB, and then whatever values which are closer to that proximity, it will then get those data, and then that data will be sent to ChatGPT. Now the data and the question will be changed, will be sent to the OpenAI model, and then OpenAI model will then respond back. Because we cannot send all the data to ChatGPT, so another way of doing it is to store it in the vector, database, and only send through the vector database proximity search, you can just only send that data which is relevant to that question to ChatGPT. Okay. Okay, that's a very good question. So there are, models available, right? Which will so there is models available from, OpenAI. There's model available from Cohere, and what they do is that they take the text and they convert it to words. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to get the model, and the model has a logic in it that they try to match. So I mean, if you go to like a supermarket, right? If you see all the milk is in one aisle, all the fruit is in one aisle. So that's what these models do, that they put all the different, text in similar. Yes, yes, absolutely. That's true. That's true. And you get the response back. So in this, example where we are searching a board for, different question, we are using the retrieval QA chain from the LangChain framework. Okay, and this is a demo which we will be showing shortly with the code, so you will get the whole end-to-end flow. Okay, now besides just reading from the PDF files, right? If you want to also get data from SQL database, or you want to get data from the like Google, right? You can also do that, right? So besides searching for a question, and you just don't want to limit yourself to the PDF, you can use other chains which are available. Okay, and how do you do that? You use a thing which is called agents. So LangChain agents lets you, use other sources of data for your question. Okay, and I mean there are many different types of agents available. So if you go to the LangChain website, you will see there is you can call Python code. It has a connectivity to Zapier. Zapier has like thousands of other applications like Salesforce, Workday, Oracle ERP. So you can get data from all of these sources. You can also call other chains agents. You can write your own custom functions, right? So you can get data from all of these sources. Now, when you are when you have multiple tasks, right, and you want to save data in memory while you are completing, LangChain also provides you memory also. So you can uh, get the data from one source, go to memory, save it, then do something else, and then memory. So you have also memory available. Okay. So we covered like the high level overview of LangChain. So just to summarize, LangChain is a framework by which you can create LLM based applications. Without it, it will be very hard. Okay, it's a free, it's an, basically, an, open source framework, which is available, and everybody is using that. This is what we covered so far. As so we said that a user, I mean, asks a question, it goes to the LangChain framework. The LangChain frameworks have chains and, agents. We were using the retrieval QA chain to get the data from the vector store. We basically copied the books from our PDF file to the vector store. And after that chain, we can also use, basically agents. We said that besides getting the data from the vector store, we can also use the agent to call an, API, or do Google search, or get the data from, database, or other, custom tools. And besides that, we also have memory. Okay, so it gives you the complete platform to create an LLM application. A lot of people ask me, why do we need VectorDB? Because they are so much familiar with MongoDB, non-relational, relational database. So if you traditional database, if you go and ask wine for seafood, it will fail because it doesn't understand semantic search. But if you ask the same question in a vector search, wine for food, it will return you back. So who uses VectorDB, which is very famous? Google. So if you go to google.com, and I mean, Google is using VectorDB for all this data they have. So if you see VectorDB, why, I mean, when you go to Google and search for something, the result comes within 61 seconds. It is so fast. I mean, you can, basically type anything and it will give you the right answer, right? So behind the scene, it is basically taking all the text, converting to numbers, just I showed you, and that's how it is working. Yeah. And these are some of the vector database available. So if you Google like Pinecone, VBAT, Elastic, Neo4j, Single Store, DB, I mean, they are pretty popular. There are many companies, many Fortune 500 companies which are making um, LLM applications, and they are using these VectorDB. Here are some of the use cases. I just want to, how many companies have, how many people out here have any B2B, e-commerce site or B2C e-commerce site in their companies? You have a B2B. Okay, so right now, if you have a shopping cart, you will be, if you type PVC plumbing irrigation system, so you can only do keyword search. You cannot do semantic search. So you want to go from here to here. What material list and tools do I need to build an irrigation system for my 1 acre backyard in, Detroit, Michigan? So if you want to go from here to here, what I showed you, the LangChain framework and the whole thing, if you use that, you can get here. Okay, so a lot of companies are moving from keyword search to semantic search using it. A lot of the workplace sites like SharePoint and Workday, currently, I mean, you can only do like 401k policy USA, but if you want to do something like what are the key aspects of the company 401k policy for employee in my location and how do I enroll it, if you want to go from here to here, this can be a use case. So here is another example. You have a call center, all the voice message gets translated to text, and then we use OpenAI to do sentiment analysis and I mean create reports that how many customers were happy, how many were not happy. So I think this is another use case. Any questions on OpenAI Chat LangChain framework before I give to Sarmad? And I mean, Sarmad can go through the workshop. Yeah. So LangChain is the number one, and there is another one which is called Flowise. Yeah, Flowise is Flowise is is a no code solution. So you can just drag and drop. So it's very easy to use. Yeah. But and there is one more which I don't remember, but that's not very popular. Yeah. But LangChain is every single all the major Microsoft, Google, everybody's into this. Yeah.
So an example for these irrigations, how do you train? Like, that's basically contextual question. How do you train the system to know like these are the parts that you should have? And it could be like some of the components are not even in.
Yeah.
Their stuff. So like, what's the basic training steps?
That's a very good question. Yeah. So you have two choices. Okay. Either you train basically open AI, but that's a very costly because OpenAI training cost is much more than usage cost. Another option two, which I just showed you, VectorDB. So you upload all of your documents into a VectorDB, the question will go to VectorDB. It will get the right data. It will send the data plus the question to the large language model, and the response will be back. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does your system know to prioritize, for example, the local resources?
Yeah.
That's not likely you can, right?
Yeah.
First search local and then you go farther away.
Yes. Yeah. So I think the agent can be programmed. So you can tell them that, okay, before you do the SQL search, do this, or vice versa. And Sarmat will be showing that. I mean, that demo he will be showing, you will see that.
That is agents change their vendor support with their separate modules that are not necessarily part of their ChatGPT.
It is part of the LangChain framework, which is free. Yes, yeah, you don't have to pay for it. There are no third party. You just go to LangChain. Yeah. And I think if you need more, information, the LangChain support help is really good. Yeah. So I think we have about 20 more minutes. So let me get Sarmat so that we can start, and then I think we can have a chat also on that. Let's put this.
Thank you so much, Mas. Hello, everyone. Really excited to be here and presenting this demo. All right. We'll just quickly load the application.
It's a generative AI app that we created using a large language model and the LangChain infrastructure. And as you can see, depicted by this picture is a warehouse, data warehouse where all your enterprise data lives. And then the data could be in two different forms, which is structured or unstructured. By structured, we means that your data is uh, your data is tabular, it's in Excel or a CSV file or maybe a SQL database. And then by unstructured, we mean like it's a text document or a Word document, maybe a PPT or PDF file, right? So for the purpose of this demo, we have divided in these examples into four different categories, which is unstructured files, structured files, database, and other sources. And we'll see like how you can talk to your data using a large language model. So let's go to an unstructured data example. As you can see the architecture diagram over here. So here you simply upload a file. And when you upload a file, it goes to an embeddings model. And that embeddings model basically creates embeddings of your data and then stores it into a vector store. So what happens when you ask a question? Your query goes to an embeddings model like CAN, and then the embeddings are created for your query. And then a similarity search is conducted between your query's embedding and the embeddings already stored in the document for your documents in the vector store for your documents. Right. So what happens is that based on your query, it retrieves the most relevant documents, and those relevant documents along with your query goes to the natural language response, the large language model, and over there it summarizes and gives you a nice human understandable natural language response. So for example, we have a file over here. This is an unstructured file and it is about some 401k policy, some plan, and probably it's 29 pages file. And if you want to find information, what you would usually do is to go to the index and then jump onto that particular topic and find the right piece of information which you require. So probably you want to know like how much contribution does your company make. So what you can do is that you can simply jump onto this application Over here, you can simply upload it and let the application create embeddings for your document, and then you can simply ask how much contribution is made by the company. And now it will start finding the answer. So here you can see, like, by just giving an initial language prompt, it gave you a completion which says like about 3% would be given by the company. So this all is being done using the semantic search, right? Using a vector database. Let's say you want to know like what are the key topics in this document. And then here it found all the important topics in this document, right? All right. So now let's jump on to the second example, which is about the structured file. Over here, you can see the architecture diagram. Let's say you upload an Excel file. That file will be stored into a very famous Python library called Pandas, which basically handles the structured data in a tabular form, right? As you can see in this picture over here. So what we'll do, we'll let it connect with Pandas AI, which is available with LangChain, and then connected to a LLM. So what happens when you ask a question, your query goes to the Pandas AI. The large language model understands your query, and then it simply runs aggregations based on your data and finds you the answers. And then you can simply have like natural language responses, right? So for example, we have this financial sample data over here. You can see like it's about some sales data, and you have like multiple countries, and then you have different segments, products, and what sales you did, right? For like different years. So probably the current practice is that you simply go into this document, the Excel file, and run some formulae, and those formulae would result you like averages in each country for your sales, or maybe the total number of units sold in each segment for each product. So that all requires like formula or maybe some filtering on the tables, right? So what we can do using the generative AI app is that simply upload this file over here. It says it's already in use, so we have to close it, and then we open it. And then we can quickly have a view of it, and we can start asking the questions. Let's say we ask like, what are the total number of units sold in each country? And see, it gave you the sum of all the units which are sold in each country. And I mean, you don't have to do any kind of aggregations by yourself. You simply ask the question using a natural language prompt, right? And then you can ask like, what is the mean, mode, and median of sales? It might not be an appropriate question, but it will find you the answers, right? So you can see the mean of the amount is this, the mode or the most frequent is this, the median is about this, right? And over here you can even ask it to plot the average sale price in each segment, and it will understand like for each segment I have to find the average of the sale price and then plot it, right? And you can see it here. simply brought you a plot, and you can say like small businesses has the highest average sale price. So I mean it just based on your natural language question, it created a plot for you as well, right? So this is the power of this generative AI, and like the way you can interact with your data. Next, sometimes what happens is that your data lives in a data warehouse, or maybe it's living in a SQL database in your data warehouse. So what you can do is that you can make a connection by providing credentials in a SQL agent using LangChain, and then connect it with the large language model. Uh, Again, we are using OpenAI in our case. And then what happens is when you ask a question, it goes to LangChain, and then LangChain interacts with SQL and the large language model at the same time. It goes and understands the schema of your database, and from there it start writing the SQL queries to get the response, the correct appropriate response for your question. And then it gets the aggregated numeric result, and then that result along with the question is sent to a large language model, and then it turns into a beautiful human understandable completion, right? So here we have a database which is about a company selling some products. They get orders, and then they have like customers, some payment methods, and few offices, etc. So we'll start to talk to this particular database. Let's see. We can ask like, who is our most valuable customer? And like it understands. I mean, it's totally okay with your spelling mistakes as well. So here it brought this answer like, Euro Plus shopping channel is our most valuable customer with a credit limit of about this value. Wonderful. And let's ask like, what is our total sale for each year? So I mean, just by understanding this particular question, it ran like SQL queries with aggregations, and found you the result that the sale in 2003 was about this, 2004 was about this value, and 2005 was about this value. Isn't it great? You probably are skipping I mean the job or the task which were done by a business intelligence engineer, right? So the last method which I'm going to show you here is making API calls by using a large language model. So what usually happens is sometimes you are using a third-party services. In our case, we have ServiceNow IT ticket management system, and all the tickets are hosted over there, and our data lives on their cloud. So we are not allowed to directly connect to that data and use it for other purposes. The only method which is available at our disposal is to make API calls, right? So what we did is we fine-tuned our model, and by fine-tuning, we mean like we showed it multiple examples. If you get this kind of question, you have to make this kind of API query, this kind of question, this kind of API query. And then we like fine-tune, did some for the training of the large language model, and then ask it questions. So it takes the question to a large language model, which is fine-tuned. It converts my question into an API call, and that API call is run on the ServiceNow instance, and then it brings the JSON response. So that JSON response is aggregated response, which has like fewer tokens, and then that response goes to the LangChain, which is already connected to another large language model along with the question, and gets us a summarized response. Like nobody would, I mean, directly go and read a JSON file to see what response is there. So this is the beauty of LangChain, where it like uses a large language model to, wrap that JSON response and extract necessary information based on our question and returns in natural language or human understandable completion. Right. So since it's a ticketing management system, we can ask like how many tickets are open. And it says like 140 tickets are open. So over there we have like different categories. We can categorize our tickets, and let's see in each category how many tickets are open or are there. Let's see. So it gave you a beautiful summary saying that hardware category has 14 tickets, inquiry has these many tickets, network has these many tickets, software has these many tickets, right? And then you can probably ask like who has created the most number of tickets. Right. And I mean, you might have your business in different geographical locations. And let's say you have your business in Saudi and people over there are like are using want to talk in their own language. So the large language model will understand Arabic or other languages as well. But let's say we ask like how many tickets are open, and then we just copy it and paste it here, and it should bring the response. So it said like 140 tickets are open, and then we can translate this back. So let me paste it here. It says the number of open tickets are 140. All right. So yes, that was pretty much it for today's demo. And thank you everyone for joining us. And if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask.